The light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What is good, sports fans? It's your boy, Aaron Yowell. Welcome to episode 9 of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am so excited to be here. Yes, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, I believe. I hope you all had a fantastic week. Super thankful to be coming to you in consecutive weeks. College football is back in full. And those boys from Boulder made some noise. I must throw out a disclaimer as we get started on this show. You are entering the smuggest of zones. On today's show, we're going to talk a lot about the CU Buffs and their upset of the number 17th ranked TCU Horned Frogs. The impact of Coach Prime is unreal. Gang, we're going to get to it. We're going to go over the Force Falcons win and the CSU Rams loss, unfortunately. Also, we have to catch up with the Rockies as they continue through this tough section of their schedule. And in our last segment, we are going to look ahead to college football week 2. Particularly the renewal of a rivalry between the CU Buffs and the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and opening weekend for your Denver Broncos as they welcome in the Raiders to Empower Field at Mile High. We have got a lot of people already in the chat. Taryn, Adam, Larry B. Let's ride. It is time to ride Broncos country. But before we get to all that good, let's handle our business. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yowell from Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am super excited to tell you about a new sponsor on the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm's Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket beef jerky offers gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. That's my favorite part. This is some of the best beef jerky you can get your hands on. Check them out online, planetjerky.com. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. We're back, and we're no longer coming. We are here. Ladies and gentlemen, let us kick off tonight's Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, with those CU Buffaloes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans of all ages, it is time to ascend to the top of the mountain. Let us breathe in that rarefied mountain air as I bring you sports takes a mile above the rest. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot remember the last time I watched a CU football game from beginning to end. Second of all, I cannot remember the last time I was this hyped for a CU football game. Coach Prime and the team did not disappoint, and I really don't even know where to start. The Buffs won 45-42 in a Wild West shootout in Fort Worth. How perfectly cowboy. Shedeur Sanders, in his Power 5 FBS debut, threw for a record-setting 510 yards on 38 of 47 passing with 4 touchdowns and no INTs. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get more perfect than that. And as Coach Prime said in his post-game presser, show me a quarterback that did that very thing this weekend. I want to know who it is. I want to see that tape. Savion Wilkerson led the Buffs in rushing with 45 yards on 13 carries and 1 touchdown. But ladies and gentlemen, it was not about the run game. It will be soon, but it was not about the run game. Adam, you are not joking. I love how the Heisman betting went off the rails, because not only does Shedeur Sanders deserve to be in that crazy early conversation after week 1, so does Travis Hunter, who I'm getting to in a minute. CU had 4 receivers with 100 plus yards for the first time in one game, for 100 plus yards in one game for the first time in school history. Shedeur Sanders, 510 yards passing, the most in school history and the most in a debut by a quarterback. Dylan Edwards, the true freshman, had 5 catches for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. Edwards finished the game with 159 total yards and 4 total touchdowns. His effort on Saturday is astounding. Throw him in that Heisman mix too. Consider the fact that this young man was walking through the halls of his high school 3 months ago, and he put up grown man ass numbers on Saturday afternoon. Travis Hunter, who needs to be nicknamed Iron Man, had 11 catches for 119 yards. He also had an amazing diving interception as TCU was driving in the first half, and he was 1 drop away from a deep touchdown ball. Hunter played over 120, almost 130. I believe the actual number was 129 total snaps on Saturday. Absolutely incredible. I didn't count this, honestly, because I wasn't ready to. But TCU barely threw to his side when CU was on defense. Hunter dropped an INT in the second half. He ran the route for the receiver. And he caught it. And had he caught it, he was gone the other way for 6. I was talking to a buddy of mine tonight at dinner. We went over to their house, and he used to be a DB coach. He actually coached on the team that had Marvin Mims on it. Shout out Broncos. And he said that as good as Shedeur was, Travis Hunter's got to be the front runner right now. All the things that he did, the fact that he played 130 snaps at a high level, and it's not just like he's out there playing safety and some cover too. No, he's running routes with and for receivers. Xavier Weaver finished with 6 catches for 118 yards, and Jimmy Horn Jr. had 11 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. Gang, I can't even get over how excited I am for this team. And if you listened to me over the last couple weeks, especially in our college football preview back to school edition, I was very cautiously optimistic about what Coach Prime could do. I said that a complete turnaround was out of question. I still think 11-1 would be ridiculous. However, I doubt Coach Prime less. Shedeur Sanders looked so very composed in the pocket and showed good footwork in moments he needed to escape the rush. Now, we're going to get to some other stuff here in a second. His deep ball looked effortless. There were so many deep balls that I watched him throw on Saturday that I thought, well, he's throwing that 20 yards just by watching his hip movement, his release, his shoulder torque. As a former quarterback coach, I was pretty in that. And it was 50 yards down the field to Xavier Weaver, dropped in a bucket. I was texting my nephew, quarterback, Panther Creek freshman team, and I was like, please tell me you're watching Shedeur cook right now. And it was right when Shedeur dropped a perfect deep ball to Xavier Weaver, and he was like, yeah, he just put that one in a bucket, and it was truth. I was pretty insufferable on Twitter X during the game, regardless of his efforts, including starting the Shedeur Heisman campaign. I know a lot of y'all were watching me, especially a lot of my network friends were at least liking the tweets that I was throwing out there. But, gang, I thought it was going to be all hype for Coach Prime because it's Deion Sanders. They backed it up in spades. Now, who wants some spice? Raise your hand. Chat, raise your hand if you want some spice. I know you do. The offensive line, who was the focus of some hate this week? Both lines, actually, were the focus of some hate this week. The offensive line looked great early, punching TCU in the mouth straight up and establishing the line of scrimmage on the first drive. But as the game progressed, the line looked tired. I will also say that as the game progressed, Sanders held the ball a lot longer than he needed to. And, that contributed to what I believe roughly half of his sacks. I think it was him looking for something specific downfield or expecting a route combination to be there. And when TCU dropped in good coverage, it wasn't, and he just didn't go through his checkdowns properly. He held the ball a little too long, but I feel like he's going to make his adjustments and everything's going to be okay. The O-line has got to find some conditioning, though, because I love the quarterback position. I wanted to play it so bad growing up, and I love that Shedeur Sanders threw for 1,000 yards on Saturday. But we can't win every game like that. Maybe we can. We play in the Pac-12. I don't know. But we've got to establish a little bit more of the run game. And the O-line looked a little worn down the stretch. And echoing what Coach Prime said in his press conference, y'all, if you haven't watched his press conference, the press conference for sure, the special teams and defensive units were not amazing. Special teams were quote-unquote horrendous. And he's not wrong. We had a blocked field goal and a touchdown on a kick return. Woof. Our kicker in charge of kickoffs better stretch out a little bit more or something, because he's got to get the ball in the end zone. Now, I know he's going to get to altitude next week against Nebraska, and he's going to probably put that thing onto the Colorado black on the back of the stands or right in front of the stands there behind the goalposts. But he's got to do that on the road. Or our kick coverage team better figure it the hell out. Because giving up a kick return kills me as a fan, and it near gave me a heart attack as a coach. Defense, you had 2 takeaways, but you gave up 42 points and 262 rushing yards. That's not good enough. While 45-42 might win you the odd game here and there, you might finish 8-4 in this college football year. It will not win you a conference championship in the Pac-12 or the Big 12 next year. And as TCU showed us against Georgia, it will get your ass beat in a playoff game. Plain and simple. Coach Prime's other son, and I don't mean other as a reductive term, because he has 2 sons on the team, Shedeur playing quarterback and wearing number 2, and Shiloh playing safety and wearing number 21. Shiloh led the team in tackles yesterday with 10. Talk about genetics. Holy crap. I will tell you straight up that I have a lot of faith in the defense improving, more so than I do in the special teams early. I think the defense will make improvements early. Special teams is probably going to take a little bit longer. How would an elite defender like Deion Sanders let his team have a garbage defense? No, he wouldn't. Jackson State never had a defense like that. Now, especially by the end of his 3rd year at Jackson State, they didn't have a defense like that. I know it takes time. I know we have 95 new players on the roster. I get it. I love that one of our returning scholarship players had an INT. Both INTs that we had were as TCU were driving. Shut the door. I love it. I love it. But you know what? I get that the FCS versus FBS competition is different. I did catch a little Jackson State tonight as we were at my buddy's house. But Coach Prime has already proved in 1 week that he's the real deal. And it really hasn't been 1 week, because he was hired in December, showed up on campus in January. The hype was intense from day one. And we don't know. We don't know what it's like. I'm getting there. Mike, thanks for checking in. Sorry that Travis Hunter did dump FSU and Jackson State for the Colorado Buffaloes, but he is him. I'm getting there. Coach Prime's interviews, man, I'm telling y'all, I watched him speak at halftime, the postgame on the field, and then I got a chance today to go back and watch his postgame press conference All three instances gave me chills. We're in a position, excuse my squeaky chair, we're in a position now with persona accessibility today with YouTube and every other social media platform on the planet that allow us to be incredibly divided and vocal about our stance on coaches, on people in general, which both sucks and is freeing. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that. But a lot of people could look at Coach Prime and the way he talks about his players, his coaches, his team, and his ability and think, oh, he's arrogant. He's clickbait. He likes to hear himself talk. My God, I hope every single one of those people watched Saturday's game. First of all, he gave glory to God right away in the post. He talked about the work that his team puts in on a day-to-day basis. And he talked about not straying from the process. Sounds a lot like the NBA champion Denver Nuggets who didn't stray from the process. Yeah, the Pac-12 is showing up before it blows up. All of the Pac-12 teams started with a win. Taryn, you ain't wrong. I love that in both the on-the-field postgame and the press conference, he said, we keep receipts. My God, I laughed out loud when he said that. That was the most badass coach moment I have ever experienced. I'm nigh on 40 years old. I've been playing sports since I was 5. I've been involved with sports since I was 5. Coached for a while after I got done playing. Dang. And not once on Saturday did he say I. He said we, emphatically. Now listen. Spice aside. I am not saying that the Buffaloes are winning or even competing for the national title this year. But I'm going to tell you right now that the nation better watch the hell out. In January, he said, we coming. And now they're all saying, we here. This is the first shot of real optimism that this program has had in 20 years. I know we have played for one Pac-12 championship title since we moved to the Pac-12, and I know that the Pac-12 is a powder keg with the fuse lit because it's about to get blown up. But I believe the hype, and I have bought into Coach Prime. Y'all, during the game, I was even trying to find out where I could buy that hat, that white hat with the CU on it. I cannot wait for week 2 against Nebraska. Coach is calling a timeout, though. On the other side, let's finish up our college football weekend. You are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We back, and we're going to stay on top of it tonight on Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do check out Taryn and Set Point on Mondays on IE Sports Radio. Taryn, the hardest working person in volleyball podcasting, who is in the chat tonight. Taryn, we appreciate you for being here. Don't forget to give all of our shows on the network, including this one, a follow on Twitter X at Mile High Musings _IESR. Adam, Mike, Taryn, Larry B., glad to have you here in the chat. I hope that the energy is not too much hitting you in the face on a holiday weekend on a Sunday night, but I am pumped, gang. I still can't get over it. We were at my buddy's house tonight having dinner and hanging out. Good family friends, and we were sitting there. He's a football head. We were flipping through scores from yesterday, and every time he brought up a game, I kept saying, yeah, but. And I was trying to be objective, trying not to ram the hype train of CU football down his throat. But damn. Ohio State looked pedestrian, and they were number one in the nation. They they won by 20 points, but they only won by 20 points. And you have Oregon put up an 80 spot. I mean, college football was wild this weekend, and I know that LSU FSU was on tonight, and I watched the beginning of that game. Right now, as it stands, it's the end of the third quarter. FSU's up 24-17. Craziness. I love football. I love football. Let's round out the week. Air Force Falcons played at home at the Academy, and they ran roughshod over Robert Morris yesterday afternoon in the Springs, 42-7. Robert Morris was so not ready for this game. In fact, their uniforms were not on the plane with them. You heard right. Robert Morris did not bring their jerseys to the game. They wore Air Force practice jerseys for the first half of the game. And then at halftime, they were able to get their kits on. Somebody's out of a damn job this week. That's a big old oof, as the kids used to say. I'm not even sure they say that anymore. It's been a minute. Colorado State women upset the then number 10 Kentucky 3-1 in volleyball in the new coach's debut. Watch out for the Rams. Maybe they're good at something. I don't know. They're not good at football right now, Taryn. I'm getting there. Last week, I said the Falcons would win by 4 touchdowns or more. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. QB Zach Larrier led the way with rushing, 99 yards on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns. He also threw for 95 yards and a touchdown. Air Force piled up 475 total yards on 32 minutes of possession. And the defense only gave up 165 total yards. It was a pretty typical Air Force game, especially against an FCS opponent. Ain't nothing more to say. They ran the football and ran it and ran it. You run it and 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 run it. That's what Air Force does. I love it. Air Force is going to be back at home against Sam Houston State. It's 7 o'clock Mountain next Saturday night on CBS Sports Network. Let's go Falcons, man. Starting 1-0. And then Saturday night in the nightcap of our college football local teams, CSU got housed. 50-24 in Fort Collins. This one was never even close or in doubt. Early in the fourth, Wazoo was already up 36-3. Both teams used 2 quarterbacks each, but for completely opposite reasons. Clay Millen got the start for the Rams and went 15 of 24 for 110 and an INT before getting the hook. And then the Rams tried Braden Fowler Nicolosi, who went 13 of 20 for 210, 2 touchdowns, and an INT. That was returned for a touchdown. So I guess Nicolosi really threw 3 touchdowns, just one to the wrong team. Yikes. Yeah. Rams gave up 556 total yards and turned the ball over twice. Not a great night for those up north, but if you went further up north, and I know this is a Colorado podcast, but shout out to an upset. Those Wyoming Cowboys in Laramie pulled the double overtime shocker against Texas Tech, winning 35-33 in double overtime in Laramie. That was cool to see. I actually just got to watch the highlights. So now looking at the trajectories, I'm going to talk CU CSU here for a minute. Looking at these trajectories, knee-jerk reaction, 1 game hype, all that jazz. CSU better pray that Shedeur and those Buffs don't hang a full 100 on them. Because if Wazoo's going to come into your barn and put up half 100 on you, the boys from Boulder could very well be 2-0 rolling in when y'all butt heads. And actually, CSU's going to Boulder. Rocky Mountain Showdown ain't what it used to be. And with Coach Prime and them boys, it definitely ain't going to be what it used to be. The Rams are off next week to lick their wounds and prepare for that game against CU, which is at 8 Mountain on September 16th on ESPN. That's 9 Central time for me. It's going to be a late night, but that's CSU. It's one of the games that I lived for growing up. I don't think it is at all going to be the same. Last week I shouted out the battle for House Yowl. Abilene Christian did take it to those UNC Bears. Big time. I have lost the final score. Frankly, I don't care. My Bears got beat real bad. But c'est la vie. Those boys from Boulder, man. Cannot get enough. I was listening to the DNVR CU Buffs podcast. DNVR Network is another great Denver-based podcast network, much like Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And they have shows dedicated to all of our teams. They do across the network what I do as a one-man job. And they actually traveled to Fort Worth, and I only got about 25, 30 minutes into the post-game reaction today. But, they get the chance to be close to the teams and to see things and to go to practice. And I am one who is cautiously optimistic about every single one of my teams except the Rockies, because I know they're just going to be complete and utter dog crap. Sorry, boys. I'm getting to you next. But they've seen the body of work from jump. And they know it's real. Is that my boy Drewski just turned in? Drewski and I were going after it. We were having fun. We weren't talking any trash. It was like the coolest. Like, oh my gosh, did you see that? Back and forth on Twitter yesterday. And there was no shade, no hate, not even a little bit. One, we ain't like that. Two, that game wasn't like that. That was two offenses that just were ready to go. Drewski, thanks for being here. Congrats on CU victory. Man, I had nothing to do with that. If I had the power to win games from my couch holding my baby, we'd win every game, because that's how I like to watch football games with one of my daughters, at least. Penny's all in. My oldest daughter, Penny, is all in when Broncos start up next week. I kind of forced my youngest, Violet, the baby, to hang out with Daddy while CU played, and I even put her in some CU clothes. Check me out on Insta for that one. But all that to say, the DNVR CU Buffs guys, they've seen it. They've seen it real, and it makes me jealous that I don't have the opportunity to go to practice and go, be on the sideline and get to know these guys and get to see the process, because I know what Deion Sanders did as an NFL player and as a college player at Florida State. I saw from a very far distance what he did at Jackson State. And I've seen in 1 week what he's done. What's not? That's the thing. It's not 1 week. He's been on the job for 9 months almost. So why am I surprised? Why am I surprised? All he does is win. And if you go back to one of his early pressers, I don't even remember how long ago it was, he said, I don't care what you say. You didn't make me. You can't break me. You didn't build me. You can't kill me. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Y'all, that's the coach. If I had sons, that's the kind of coach I want my kid to play for. He's a we mentality. He gives glory to God. He knows who he is. He sticks to his guns. And everybody made a huge deal about the roster turnover and him looking at guys and going, you ain't going to make it. You ain't going to make it. You ain't going to make it. We are so soft in today's world, where we live in this participation trophy BS, and little Johnny's he's out there just trying his best. If little Johnny sucks, little Johnny doesn't need to be on my Division I football team, my FBS football team. Sorry, little Johnny can go play intramural flag football with his frat boys or whatever. Y'all, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to be on the floor for even a Division II college basketball team. I played intramural basketball. If I had a coach, and I did, I had coaches look at me and be like, you're not it this year. And it made me work harder. And then I got to the point where I couldn't anymore and went, okay. But Dion is not treating anybody like precious little snowflakes. He is holding young men accountable, teaching them to be leaders. I saw something literally right before I jumped on the podcast about how Dion doesn't put C's for captains on the jerseys. He puts L's for leaders. If you notice, Shedeur Sanders was wearing an L. That's for leader. And then he put D, Travis Hunter, wearing a D. D for dogs. This man wants leaders. He doesn't give a crap about captains. He wants young men. He wants young men that he can look at and be like, do better. And they go out and do better. And I heard from those DNVRCU buff guys that the mentality on the sideline after TCU went down and made it 42-38, that Shedeur went, that's fine, we're going to score anyway. My God, let me have that kind of confidence. So all that to say, the hype is real. Air Force, keep rolling, doing what you do, win the Mountain West. Why not? CSU, you better get ready because they might hang 100 on you. Taryn, thank you for the support. I think, and this is a bold statement, I think this is why God gave me daughters and not sons, because I would be so ridiculously hard on sons. I'm pretty hard on my eldest daughter, admittedly. Now, I don't degrade her or demean her. I don't beat her. I don't treat her poorly. I love her with my entire whole heart, and I want her to be the best. I hold her accountable. She's 5, and I hold her accountable because this world is either going to treat her like a snowflake and she's not going to get it, or somebody like Daddy's going to come along and hold her accountable and push her to be better. It will happen with Violet too. My nephew had a rough game this week. My sister, who was a fantastic athlete and who is a great mom, and my brother-in-law, who is a great father, they are holding my nephew accountable, saying, you don't get to sulk and pout and have a shit attitude because of this. You need to suck it up and get back to work. And that's the kind of people that I want on my team. That's the kind of coach that I want. Bang! Hot takes. Run, Ralphie, run. God, Larry B., I can't wait to see Ralphie run next week. Let's go. We have got ourselves a TV timeout, so we're headed to a break. On the other side, let's talk about Rockies. You are listening to Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Shout out to my transplant man, Bernie Bango, who, like me, does not live where they love. Check out Bernie Bango on Big Cheese Sports, my Sunday compatriot on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And you right now are listening to Mile High Musings, the show that is a mile above the rest. Let's talk Rockies, because at least for the next 30 days, 56 days or so, we have to. Sorry. Weeks ago I said, be relevant or don't be talked about. CSU, don't slip into the land of irrelevant. I have 2 college degrees and taught high school for a long time. Rockies, I told you last week, paradigm shift, but don't slip into irrelevance. Those Rocks were back home. They were back at 20th and Blake this week as they welcomed in the Braves and the Blue Jays. Monday kicked off the series against Atlanta, and the Rockies gave up 2 touchdowns in the loss, 14-4. Ryan McMahon did homer and went 2 for 2 on the day, and Charlie Baseball and recent call-up Hunter Goodman each went 2 for 4. Goodman picking up a double on an RBI in the 4th. And I told y'all last week, Atlanta is the scariest team in baseball to me. I think they're the most terrifying team in baseball. They can hit, run, pitch, field. They can do it all. I would not be surprised if they win it all. I am not an Atlanta show. I'm not an Atlanta fan. When it comes down to it, if it's Atlanta versus anybody other than probably the Rangers, I'm rooting for Atlanta in the World Series. Sorry. Call me out, chat. It's fine. Because I know my Rockies ain't going to be there. Unless it's the Rangers. I don't have a dog in the fight. Tuesday, the Rocks lost 3-1. It was just ugly. It was ugly and boring. The Rocks were held to 3 hits. But hey, at least Brett Suter didn't give up all the runs in the game. He didn't give up any. There's a first time for everything. Some things never change. Oh, wait, they did change this time. Wednesday, Atlanta finished the sweep, beating the Rockies 7-3. So you're telling me that it was a 24-8 run differential in this series. That's not good, gang. I never played baseball, but I can do math. And 24-8 ain't good. K-Free picked up the loss in the series finale. Nolan Jones, friend of the pod, did go 2 for 3 on the night, and Alan Trejo homered. Hunter Goodman, making good, man, picked up another RBI. Thursday was an off day, and then Friday, them Bluebirds came to town from way up north, and the Rockies could not even hang. 13-9 was the final on Friday's game. Literally half of the Rockies' runs came in the bottom of the ninth. Toronto homered in the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings in this one. I know you already talked about the Buffs, but let's go Colorado. Thank you, Larry B. I could talk about... The Buffs are quickly entering Nuggets, Avalanche, Broncos territory where this show could be about them and nothing else, and I could still put out an hour of content probably every other day if I had the time. I don't. But I can easily put out an hour of content on those 4 squads once a week. So, Nolan Jones, friend of the pod, did go 3 for 3 on Friday night and went yard with a 3-run job in the 6th to actually give the Rockies the lead, and then they peed down their leg. A 4-run 9th would do nothing for the Rockies but close the gap on this night. So, thank you. I am hyped for them too. I think the most important thing, Larry B, is that the hype is backed up. I think it's okay if an athlete, a coach, if somebody is very secure in who they are and their abilities, and they say, I'm good at what I do. I do that often. It's both a blessing and a curse. However, it's when it's backed up at the magnitude that the Buffs are backing it up, the hype is real. Anyways, back to baseball. Saturday, the Rockies picked up their 50th win of the season. Half a cent. Oof. Beating the Blue Jays 8-7. Rockies got down 5-0 in the second before scoring 8 unanswered runs. No homers in this one for the Rocks, but they were able to manufacture all 8 of those runs, which, again, we're talking about microcosms. We're talking about microscopic improvements and silver linings. Manufacturing 8 runs is a good thing. Charlie Baseball went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, and Brenton Doyle had a 3 RBI triple. Tovar finished the night with 2 RBIs. So it was good. I mean, come on, Rockies. I wish. Today, Chase Anderson was back off the DL. He picked up a no decision in the 7-5 loss. Recent call-up. Hunter Goodman went 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs as the Rockies limped through the series finale. Will the Rockies avoid 100 losses this year? Adam, they will not. You beat me to my final point. Next week, Colorado heads to Arizona for a 3-game set, and then on to San Francisco for 3 more. And I literally wrote this, Adam, before you asked the question. I suppose now we are on 100 loss watch. It sucks because I want the Rockies to be good, and I want, names and good players to come play in Denver. But it doesn't happen because, A, the team is isolated in the middle of the country, and nobody wants to play baseball in a cold mountain town. That's not even that cold. It was like 90s all week in Denver. It wasn't the hundreds that we're going to get here in North Texas. Am I right, Drewski? Am I right? But just nobody wants to play for the Rockies because, here we are at the beginning of September, and I just got excited about the fact that they won their 50th game, and some teams haven't even lost 50 yet. So it is what it is. The Rocks are just going to keep trucking, and they're going to keep giving the young guys a run, and I think that's the right move. I think they should. I think they should keep running those young bucks out there and give them the opportunity to get reps because they're going to be the face of the franchise, or they're going to be trade fodder next year. I hope it's not trade fodder. I hope that they're the face of the franchise. I hope that Nolan Jones and Hunter Goodman and Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar Elias Diaz. He could be the veteran presence alongside Charlie Blackmon. Like, y'all, I said this last week. Houston went from, I'm amazed that, it's because Chris Bryant's always hurt, Adam. I would love for Chris Bryant to blossom out there, but he can't stay healthy enough to get at-bats. And when he gets at-bats, he's still struggling to come off said injury that he can't even swing the bat with the same torque that he used to. Also, you know who's undefeated? Father Time. So I hope the Rockies can turn it around. And as I said last week, I don't expect them to be the Houston Astros and go from worst to first. First of all, we're not stealing signs. Shout out Spaced Out Sports. But look at a team like Baltimore. Baltimore has definitely taken the long process in this, and they're leading the AL East right now. So what did they do? The NBA, the NFL, they are copycat leagues. You find formulas that work and you copy them. The Rockies should be doing that in Major League Baseball. They should be finding what is working and copying the hell out of it. We're already terrible. Who cares? What's another 2 years of obscurity? Because if you look at attendance, the Rockies are not ranked the same in attendance that they are ranked in wins and losses in the Major League Baseball. In fact, they're like top 15, top 10 because Coors Field, even though it's quote-unquote one of the older parks in the nation, which blows my mind, Coors Field is still a beautiful place to watch a game. And Coors Field, early September, late May, my God, that is beautiful baseball weather. So they're getting revenue. Charlie, Dick, Monfort, you're getting paid. Sink some more of that back in. You know what? Throw a roof on that bitch and let's invest in these youngsters. Because that's what really needs to happen. Run out the young boys like you're doing right now. Talk about putting a roof on the stadium at 20th and Blake and see where it goes. Because our ballpark is not one of those old, great, amazing ballparks like Wrigley or Fenway where we have to keep the integrity of the ballpark. Hell no. I've said this umpteen thousand times. Nobody wants to play baseball in the cold. Growing up, none of my friends wanted to play baseball in the cold. It sucked. So throw a roof on it. Maybe that'll attract some good players. Who knows? But I digress. The catcher wants to chat about how to approach the next batter, and that means it's time for a break. That was a short segment, but the Rockies have nothing really to give us. When we get back, it's crunch time. And we're going to talk Broncos, baby. You're listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, Go Bills!
Back, and you are listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Give the Buffalo Huddle on IE Sports Radio with Patty a listen on Tuesdays. I have to tell you that break was good for me. I started to feel like I was in the Stephen A. Smith shouting head camp there for the last couple segments. I'm sorry, I just can't help the CU hype, but also I love the energy that it's giving me. Everybody that's been in the chat tonight, Adam, Larry, Taryn, Drewski, Mike, thank you for being here. I love the interaction. I love going off topic with y'all. Appreciate the support from the network and everybody that's doing the damn thing on IE Sports Radio. It's been a lot of fun. I can't believe that I'm on episode 9. Excited for episode 10 next week. And next week will be a post-game show, because the Broncos play the Raiders next week. And with that, let us get into crunch time and talk about our beloved Denver Broncos.
In this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
Yes, we do. If you caught my midweek musings on Twitter X, I admitted that I was wrong about who the Broncos were going to keep on the roster. Ha! I thought that they would keep both Brett Maher and, more importantly, Albert Okwuegbunam, and I was wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no problem whatsoever admitting that I was wrong. I am human, and I'm going to be wrong a lot. I have daughters. I'm screwed, so I'm going to be wrong a lot. The Broncos ended up trading Albert O to the Eagles for draft capital, and they just straight up waved yip boy Brett Maher. I said last week that on the episode that Broncos country needed to trust Sean Payton. And after reading and hearing the news, I was honestly shocked, and my knee-jerk reaction was not in the quote-unquote trust Sean Payton camp. But, much like with Coach Prime and the Buffs, we're not in the locker room. I'm not. And I'm not at practice every day. And I don't get to see what Coach Payton sees. So as pissed off as I was at first, I trust Coach Payton, and I'm over it. Adam, thank you for the love of the energy of this show. Can't help it. So we're getting ready. We have week 1 coming up. We have some roster issues to deal with. The fact that Jerry Jeudy is hurt. And so to help with the depth in the wide receiver room, the Broncos signed Philip Dorsett, who will most likely see reps on Sunday. So in show prep this week, I popped open the ESPN depth chart, and read into it what you will, but the depth chart still has Jerry Jeudy as a starter. That ain't happening. And Greg Dulcich as the second tight end. I think Dulcich could be involved in the pass game, but not from the traditional Y position, if you know what I'm talking about, the tight end on the end position. I think Dulcich, could flex out. That's the thing. The Broncos always like to keep an athletic tight end. See Shannon Sharp, who made the athletic tight end a very viable thing. But they have the ability to flex Dulcich out and put him in the slot to kind of make up for depth issues that we're having with the wide receivers. I think Jeudy will be, a week or two, depending on how his recovery is going. I hear he's already getting work on the side field, trying to come back. But if the Broncos are smart, they're not going to rush him back. So I think Dulcich in the slot is a thing. I think that's a thing. I was wrong about a couple of the guys, but some of the things that I'm going to talk about here, I've been right about. So keep an eye on that. This week as the Broncos make their offensive prep. On the defensive side of things, I think the roster looks stout. As I mentioned on a few different episodes, a few different pods, I don't think the D was going to be the question mark. Although looking again at that ESPN depth chart, Nick Bonito is listed as a starter opposite Randy Gregory for an edge rusher positions, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it was actually Jonathan Cooper who starts across from Gregory based on his play at the end of the season, based on his work throughout camp, based on his play in the preseason. Jonathan Cooper just has the body of work that says, I'm ready. Nick Bonito is a raw talent. He was a rookie last year. I think that he will be the answer when Gregory's gone, because Gregory's a little bit longer in the tooth. And if Gregory runs into injury issues like he has in the past, that's where Nick Bonito comes in. Straight up. So I mentioned a minute ago that Maher was released. Thank you, Larry B. I appreciate you. The Broncos had to acquire a kicker because we ain't got one. So the Broncos acquired kicker Will Lutz from the Saints for a draft pick. Sean Payton bringing in his guys. I can't be pissed. Look what Coach Prime did. He brought his sons and Travis Hunter along. Like, sure the hell is working out for them. So also, I called this, Larry B., I appreciate you popping in on the chat right here. I called this on the 3 and Out AFC West preview show a hot minute ago. And on this pod as well. Frank Clark, per ESPN, is listed as a 3 technique, hand in the ground, D-end. Now, I may have been wrong about Albert O and Brett Maher and Larry B. I am pointing at your avatar in the chat right now as I say this, but I am happy as hell that I called this one like a month and a half ago. 6 weeks ago. I said Frank Clark would be best suited on this defense to shut the hell up and put his hand in the ground. If he wants to see reps, he's going to have to change his position because he does not fit the mold of a Denver edge rusher. Adam, I am not regretting that the Broncos picked PS2 over Justin Fields. I'm not. I know that Justin Fields has the potential to be awesome. My father, who is well-versed in the Denver sports teams, or used to be, not as much anymore because he lives in Texas now too, but he wanted Justin Fields. And I think the Broncos have just been torched too many times with early quarterbacks. See Tim Tebow, see Jay Cutler, see Drew Lock. I was really happy to get PS2. I'm still really happy to have PS2. I think, contrary to what a lot of people think, I think he's the best corner in the league. And I like having good defenses. I don't know. I say that, Adam, from the perspective of the last time we won a Super Bowl, we had a really good quarterback whose arm was a noodle. And we had to have a good defense to win that title. So that's my stance on that take. Oh my God, I can't wait for opening weekend, gang. And I love that it's the Raiders coming to town. Oh my God, I love that. I think the Broncos can take a page out of CU's book and come out and smack the Raiders right in the mouth. I really can. Denver has nothing to lose. Like, guys in the chat, Denver's got nothing to lose. We were 5-12 last year. We have nothing to lose and everything to prove. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are trying to write the next chapters of their legacies, and neither of them want to replicate Denver's last season. Sean Payton's like, y'all, if Sean Payton turns this thing around and wins a championship in Denver, and I know that's a huge what if and a huge leap and a huge look forward, where does that put him in best coaches of all time? Because he walked into a god-awful roster and an organization that was just in shambles. I'm asking for a friend. And Russell Wilson needs to make amends for last year. Again, not in the locker room, not in the huddle, not on the sidelines. I don't know what the hell happened. I can see it from the comfort of my couch, yelling at Hackett, yelling at Wilson, yelling at the O-line. But Russell Wilson don't play that way. He ain't about that life. I mean, Peyton's already changed the culture. And from all reports coming out of Dove Valley, the players have bought in and are willing to work. Or they have very briskly found their way out of the facility. And I said it last week, it's a business. What if that's why Albert O's not on the team anymore? Drew Lock was mouthy, and everybody knew about that. What if Albert O was mouthy too? And I just I look at all tight ends that we get through Shannon Sharp colored glasses, and I want them all to be like 84 was. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so excited though. I can't wait. NFL Sunday Ticket has been purchased. I am ready to sit on my couch with my daughter, my mother, my wife, my grandmother. We are all going to be in our Broncos gear. Just pumped. But we are John Elway jersey number days away from kickoff, and I so cannot wait. Next weekend is CSU Nebraska and Broncos Raiders. That is a Colorado sports fans' dream weekend. Both games at home. CSU Nebraska is the big noon kickoff on Fox, and Broncos Raiders 2:25 Mountain Time on CBS. Y'all, next week for our episode, I don't expect much talk outside of football. And I am so excited for it. Adam, Larry B, Taryn, Drewski, Mike. Who did I miss? God, thank y'all for being here in the chat today. It was a full room. I didn't go quite as long as I thought I was going to because it was going to end up being all about them CU Buffaloes. But that is going to do it for us here today on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do not forget to check out all the other shows on the network. Give us follows on social media. If you are downloading this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, 5-star review would be greatly appreciated because that helps the algorithm and helps us on the network. It is your boy Aaron Yell signing off from the top of the mountain. Stay good, sports fans.